I just wanted to let people hear, there's a passage in the book which gives a good exposition of this idea about how many things we can be and what it means. So would you like to read this for a few minutes?
Yeah. I have to make clear that my own book is not my favorite read. Always, but when I'm commanded to do that, I do that. Yes, good boy.
Read.
Yeah. This is a chapter called Making Sense of Identity. History and background are not the only way of seeing ourselves and the groups to which we belong. There are a great variety of categories to which we simultaneously belong. I can be at the same time, and I've said this autobiographically a bit, same time an Asian, an Indian citizen, a Bengali with Bangladeshi ancestry, an American or British resident, an economist, a dabbler in philosophy, an author, a Sanskritist, a strong believer in secularism and democracy, a man, a feminist, a heterosexual, a defender of gay and lesbian rights, with a non-religious lifestyle, from a Hindu background, a non-Brahmin, and a non-believer in an afterlife, and also, in case the question is asked, a non-believer in before life as well. This is just a small sample of diverse categories, to each of which I may simultaneously belong. There are, of course, a great many other membership categories too, which, depending on circumstances, can move and engage me. Belonging to each one of the membership groups can be quite important, depending on the particular context. When they compete for attention and priority over each other, they need not always, and there may be no conflict between the demands of different loyalties, but when they do, the person has to decide on the relative importance to attach to the respective identities, which will again depend on the exact context. There are two distinct issues here. First, the recognition that identities are robustly plural, and that the importance of one identity need not obliterate the importance of others. Second, a person has to make choices, explicitly or by implication, about what relative importance to attach in a particular context to the divergent loyalties and priorities that may compete for precedence. Identifying with others in various different ways can be extremely important for living in a society. It has not, however, always been easy to persuade social analysts to accommodate identity in a satisfactory way. In particular, two different types of reductionism seem to abound in the formal literature of social and economic analysis. One may be called identity disregard, and it takes the form of ignoring or neglecting altogether the influence of any sense of identity with others on what we value and how we behave. For example, a good deal of contemporary economic theory proceeds as if in choosing their aims, objectives, and priorities, people do not have or pay attention to any sense of identity with anyone other than themselves. John Donne may have warned, "No man is an island entire of itself," but the postulated human beings of pure economic theory are often made to see themselves as pretty entire. In contrast with identity disregard, there is a different kind of reductionism, which we may call singular affiliation, which takes the form of assuming that any person preeminently belongs, for all practical purposes, to one collectivity only, no more and no less. Of course, we do know, in fact, that any real human being belongs to many different groups, through birth, associations, and alliances. Each of these group identities can, and sometimes does, give the person a sense of affiliation and loyalty. Despite that, the assumption of singular affiliation is amazingly popular, if only implicitly, among several groups of social theorists. It seems to appeal often enough to communitarian thinkers, as well as to those theorists of cultural politics who like to divide up the world population into civilizational categories. The intricacies of plural groups and multiple loyalties are obliterated by seeing each person as firmly embedded in exactly one affiliation, replacing the richness of leading an abandoned human life with the formulaic narrowness of insisting that any person is quote-unquote situated in just one organic fact. To be sure, the assumption of singularity is not only the staple nourishment of many theories of identity, it is also, as I discussed in the first chapter, a frequently used weapon of sectarian activists who want the targeted people to ignore altogether all other linkages that could moderate their loyalty to that specially marked herd. The incitement to ignore all affiliation and loyalties other than those emanating from one restrictive identity can be deeply delusive and also contribute to social tension and ultimately violence.